Namaskaram. We continue with the story of Kadru and Vinata from the Pauloma Parvam in Mahabharatam. We have said already that Kadru and Vinata were both wives of Kashyapa. Diti and Aditi were also Kashyapa's wives. From Diti came Daityas, who are the Asuras, demons. From Aditi came Adityas, who are the gods. And from Kadru, the serpents were born, and from Vinata, Garuda and his elder brother Aruna were born. That is the story which we just started. Because Kadru produced 1,000 children who were serpents, Vinata became jealous. She got 2 eggs, but neither of them hatched even after 500 years. So she broke open one, and from that came an eagle by name Aruna. Whether it was human form or eagle form, it was half formed, and he was named Aruna, and he became very wild because his mother didn't wait enough time for him to be fully formed. So he cursed his mother Vinata that because of your jealousy with your sister Kadru, I have to suffer. So I curse you that you will be a slave to Kadru for 500 years, and my brother who will be born out of the other egg will save you from slavery. That is a story which will come soon. And Aruna strongly advised his mother to wait at least 500 more years for the other egg to hatch. And so saying, he rose to heaven and approached the sun god for help. And the sun god installed him as his charioteer, and it is believed that he has been the charioteer of Surya from that day. The significance of Aruna is the morning rays of the sun, red in color, and that is why what we see first is the charioteer, and later on we see the sun. So the early morning sun is Aruna. Arunodayam is the start of early morning sun. And that is the story of Aruna. We will come to the story of Garuda soon. Now, having said this much, the sage was curious. Shaunaka was curious. So he asked Suta, how did it happen? You talked about the churning of the Milky Ocean for Amritam. Tell me more about that. So Suta went into the churning of the Milky Ocean. This is the story of early Krita Yuga, and gods are said to be living on Mount Mahameru, which, according to some, is which used to be at Badrinath, said to be a very high peak, golden in color, where gods live. And gods who live there, they were thinking aloud that it would have been nice if we could get the proverbial Amritam. Amritam is a potion which makes all immortal. I do not know how many of us are familiar with Chakyar, who are professional storytellers in temples. And Chakyar tells the story of this Amrita Mathana, churning of the Milky Ocean, and says that what is it? Says the reason as the fight between gods and demons. They were constantly at war, and both sides die, and the Asuras had, by fortune, had their priest Shukra, and Shukracharya had the Mrta Sanjeevani. We told the story of Kacha, who went to acquire that. And because of Mrta Sanjeevani, Asuras were revived by Shukracharya, whereas gods had none like that. So that was the reason why the gods wanted, according to Chakyar. But Mahabharatam, at least at this juncture, doesn't say about it. And gods were discussing it, and Brahma went to Vishnu and requested him to arrange for the churning of the Milky Ocean to produce Amritam. The churning of the Milky Ocean, because it is supposed to contain lots of medicines. And not only that, in the churning of the Milky Ocean, the proposal was to cut all possible medicinal plants and put in the water and start churning. We say Milky Ocean, but Mahabharata in this context says it was an ordinary ocean, and it was after the churning it became milky. And so Vishnu said, yeah, that's a good idea. Let gods and demons combinedly try it. And Vishnu suggested Vasuki to be the rope for churning, and the Mandara mountain to be the churning rod, the rod on which the cord is tied, and then which actually stir the water or the milk. And that was the Mandara mountain. The Mandara mountain, it is said, is some 20-30 kilometers south of the present day Bhagalpur. And it needed something or someone to support the mountain from below, when it becomes, when they start churning using the mountain. And the Vishnu, as in Kurma Avatara, the first Kurma, Adi Kurma, was requested, and it came and supported the mountain from under the water, from below. And gods held the tail of Vasuki, and the Asuras held the mouth side. And they started churning. They churned for several days, and still there was no luck, and they got tired. And they went to Brahma, said that we can't go on anymore. Nothing is coming out, and we are tired. And Brahma went to Vishnu, and Vishnu said he would take care, and he revived the strength of all. And in the second attempt, they tried in all earnest, and one by one, several precious objects came out. The first which came out was Goddess Lakshmi. Goddess Lakshmi opted to be on the God's side. It is said, the Chakyar's story is that Lakshmi came out with a garland, and she straight went to Vishnu and put the garland on Vishnu's neck. And one by one, other things also started coming, and finally, Amritam was carried by Dhanvantari on his hand, and the story continues. We'll continue with all that next day. Namaskaram.